Okay, so good morning. It is Monday the 14th. Glad to have you on the call. If you're watching this by YouTube, please remember to give us a like, put a comment underneath, and where possible, subscribe. And when you subscribe, remember to click that notifications button to receive some of the notifications or all the notifications of whatever it is we upload on the YouTube channel. I will begin to share the YouTube channel more on my platforms rather than the Facebook platform because that's already active, but we want to kind of start promoting the YouTube channel. So that's going to start being shared more. And the reason is that we just help create some traction there as well. And those who follow the different series, whether it's this Monday calls or whatever it is, YouTube works out better because obviously you can kind of follow the videos in a much more cohesive and coherent way. On Facebook, it's all just bundled there. And so searching on Facebook becomes a bit of a nightmare if you're trying to look for a specific video. Once again, Tuesdays, we have, until Wednesday, we have Ian Machaita. Thursday, we have Dr. Nelly. And Friday, we have our opportunity presentation. And so this Friday, I am just double checking to see who it is. It's probably Anne, and then after Anne we have Anne Sylvia, and then we have Doc Nelly. So anyway, let's jump straight into our presentation this morning. Today we are looking at the subject of the sunk cost fallacy, a very, very interesting subject, I must say. And when I got revelation for this subject, it blew me away. I follow a very, very interesting platform which is called Clear Thinking. I'm a thought transformation leader. So the idea of thinking and clarity and putting direction to everything in life for me is very appealing. Though I am a believer, born again Christian, spirit-filled tongue speaking, typical charismatic evangelical, I am also a thinker. My personality is a skeptic, so I don't take anything at face value. That's just who I am. I question everything. It's almost my life motto: question everything. Ask yourself, is this really it? And so because of that, I'm a bit of a researcher, I'm a bit of a reader, I'm a bit of a person that asks a lot of questions. So I joined this platform called clearthinking.org, and boy, that platform is so powerful because it takes all this mundane stuff you think is mundane, and just begins to teach you how to question these things. And it creates a more analytical approach to life. You know, you don't just jump at everything. Don't be so gullible. In the words of Biff Tannen in the runaway classic Back to the Future, he'd ask McFly, don't be so gullible, McFly. Think, McFly, think. And so for me, that's the point to every one of you. Think, my friends, think. Don't be so gullible. Don't just take everything everybody tells you. Even this platform, I always ask you to go question everything. I always ask you to go do your own research. I always recommend that you carry out due diligence. That's what they exist for. If God wanted us to just be automatons and robots, he would not have given us brains. But he knows that by giving us brains, we have the ability to be analytical. And it's through being analytical that you're able to make sound decisions. See, the Bible says that he did not give us a spirit of fear, but of love, of power, and a sound mind. So which means your capacity to think is a God-given gift, my friend. Yes, the Bible says obedience is better than sacrifice, but I'd rather test the ground. Make sure that that where I step is sure ground. Jesus said through his apostle John, test every spirit. Jesus also said through Isaiah the prophet, come, let us reason together. So the idea of thinking is a good thing. So anyway, today we're looking at the third of these detractors to destiny. As you already know, what exactly is a distractor? It is in essence a repellent to your destiny. Living in the past or time travel, the flashy detour, and the sunk cost fallacy are three major detractors or repellents. And today we're looking at the third of the detractors, which to destiny, namely the sunk cost fallacy. And if you recall, last time we looked at the second the second detractor, which is the shiny detour, and I got a lot of feedback from that, like really good feedback. It was amazing. So how do you know you suffer from the sunk cost fallacy? Okay, sunk cost. So what a sunk cost, we'll get to that. What is a fallacy? We'll get to that. So you suffer from The sunk cost fallacy, whenever you let a past expenditure distort your decision-making process. Simple. So let me just say that again. You and I suffer from a sunk cost fallacy whenever you let a past expenditure distort your decision-making process. So in other words, that past expense, whatever it is distorting your capacity to make a decision right now. Okay? In terms of what I'm saying here, this is when past cost, whether be it time, whether be it effort, or both, blinds and therefore distorts your ability to make an objective decision about that commitment in the present. So you have a cost you incurred, you have a decision to make, and you can't make it. In other words, you can't make it objectively. You're very subjective to the decision. And so your ability to make that decision is extremely distorted. In accounts, sunk costs in a business are expenses that cannot be gotten back even if you choose to close or discontinue the venture. And these include, but are not limited to, rentals, registration and licensing fees, salaries and operational expenses like phone, airtime, internet bundles, fuel, transport, and the like. Once these are spent, they cannot be recovered back. So that's what is called a sunk cost. I'm sure you understand. So whenever that expense is deemed very high, many persons begin to suffer from this sunk cost fallacy. They become challenged with facing reality and instead end up getting into a fallacious scenario. So here are the following three mechanisms that can and do contribute to the sunk cost fallacy itself. So three mechanisms, listen to these. The first one is the waste not principle. The second one is the preference for risky gambles to certain losses. And the third one is the justification of behavior. So let's kind of sink our teeth into those three. So waste not, preference for risky gambles, justification of behaviors. So let's go. Now, waste not principle. This is the desire to avoid feeling that you've wasted resources. Does that sound familiar? If those resources are time, effort, money, personnel, or all of the above, you want to justify the continued cost because you cannot waste all that expenditure. This is seen in people who know deep in their hearts that things are no longer working, but the money or effort or time, if you like it, expended cannot be allowed to just sink into oblivion. So they end up spending good money after bad money, good effort after bad effort, good efforts or abilities or inputs after something that is technically no longer working. So we call that the waste not principle. So how can I've sunk 100,000 kwacha into this project. There's no way. Let me just recover back my 1,500 kwacha. Sorry, 1.5 million or 100,000 or whatever it is. The second one, so if the first one is the waste not principle, the second one is the preference for risky gambles to certain losses. Now, this is the desire to give yourself a chance to break even regardless of how slim. So that's the one I just explained. Even when all the indicators show that this is a certain loss with no hope for recovery, whatever, you want to continue by faith or on the chance that things will work out, hence why we call it gambling. So you see, this is gambling. You see, when you know the odds are stacked against you and you're still going on with it, then that's a gamble. You're not doing things from what I call a place of certainty. You're doing things from a place of uncertainty. So whenever you start hearing people bringing faith into something and chance and perhaps I could be lucky and they start talking about luck, just know those are risky gambles. That's gambling. Probability is a great branch of mathematics, and simple, basic laws of average will tell you and give you statistics to a given scenario. But when the signs are no longer favorable, we call those red flags. In Christian circles, in my faith, we call those the prompting of the Holy Spirit. God is giving you all the signs, but you're like, it's working. Okay. So you keep on going and you keep on doing whatever it is that you keep on doing. But my friend, it is a certain loss. But hey, who are we to stop you from your journey of faith? All right. The third one is justification of behavior. So imagine you've got the waste. You don't want to waste any money that you've already spent so far, so you want to kind of run with that. Then the second one, you are literally a gambler now, so you might as well be joining Betway and bet this and bet that, because there's absolutely less chances of success and more chances of loss, but you kind of just stick it out. The third one is justification of behavior. This is the common one. And for me, this is the real one, okay? This is the desire to avoid feeling foolish or looking stupid to others. You probably made such a big deal about this choice and flaunted it enough such that now you now want to save face. So if you choose to continue in an obvious bad course of action simply because you would rather be a hypocrite than truthful, okay? So you continue pretending all is well when it no longer is. This is true of many endeavors, especially marriage and business ventures, these two. Okay, that's an area people don't like to hear, marriage. So for some, this even extends to negative situations like job losses, where individuals choose to pretend to go to work every morning and come back in the evening, when the reality is that they go and hang out all day elsewhere to save face at home. I'm telling you, for me, the justification of behavior is amazing. I'll give you a very simple litmus test. I post a lot of stuff, right? As an individual, I post a lot of stuff on social media, and I make some very absolute statements sometimes. And sometimes in those absolute statements, I may not have all the facts. I may not know all the things. And so in my absolute statement, you find that, oops, I made a mistake. I do not condone or believe this. I have learned to go back to my audience and say, guys, I know I said this, but I have been proven wrong. I stand corrected. For me, I don't see, some people have issues with it. I don't. I'm a human being. And I know some people mock me about it, but it's fine. I know why I do it. I will go and stand corrected even to my children, because I understand that it is better to be true than to be hypocritical. Some people will save face to death. So I'll give you a very good example. The other time I made a status, the most recent one, I made a status to say one can never be able to receive any kind of sensible counsel on marriage from a divorcee. That's what I said. I said, how can a divorcee who failed in the marriage come and give counsel to somebody in a marriage? I said, that's a joke. It can't work. And of course, there was a huge storm on my page. And as a person who reads and follows feedback, I got quite some amazing feedback. And I argued, but the feedback was just so sensible. I mean, it made so much sense that it reached a point where I said, you know what? These people are so right. Yes, a divorcee can give very sound counsel to married people, because of course they come from that place. When I myself come from that place, I did go through a divorce and did remarry, and here I am. But I had always felt, that's why I'm using past tense, I had always felt that, well, I don't think we have a right to counsel in any way. But then there was very powerful arguments which made so much sense. So I went back on my page and I said, you know what, guys, I stand corrected. I agree. I was wrong. From now on, yes, you can receive counsel from divorcees. So I've done this on several occasions. Not many, but I have done it. And I'm one of those that stands corrected. I always challenge people on my page and on all my circles in life. Look, I will have a position, but if you can prove me wrong, I'm happy to back up. Now, that's a very simple example, but these are obviously much harder and more difficult, and that's business ventures and marriage. Many people are scared of these. They don't want to back out of a bad marriage. But let me tell you something, and I'm not in any way justifying. I know, for example, the position that the Bible has on divorce. I know the position that the Roman Catholic Church has on divorce. I think their position is correct. I think it's correct, but I also think the situational ethics displayed by Paul is correct as well. So it's a very touchy issue, needs a lot of counsel. But one thing I'll always say about things like marriage is that it takes two to work together. The Bible says two cannot walk together unless they agree. So if one of the two is no longer in agreement, that's a lopsided arrangement. It doesn't matter how much this one tries. If this other person is not willing, that's a difficult bargain. It's the same story with forgiveness and reconciliation. Very interesting topic. You've got forgiveness where you do forgive someone who did something wrong to you. But and I know there are some circles that will say that where forgiveness exists without reconciliation, then no true forgiveness has taken place. But the argument is, if the other party is not willing to reconcile, then that should not negate your forgiveness. You can forgive a person, but if they are not willing to reconcile with you, because to reconcile means to come back to where you were previously. That's what reconcile means, to bring back to where you were previously. Now, in many instances, that doesn't happen because of all the bad blood. Some people choose, I'm not interested, I don't want any reconciliation. In that case, if you've forgiven, you stand clear with God, because it means you've let go. You have already made it right with God. You've indicated to the person and you've moved on. But then if they choose not to come and reconcile, that's a whole other baby. So for me, these are issues where when we talk about the sunk cost fallacy, it is about looking at the reality and asking yourself, is this what you signed up for? And if the answer is no, then you are certainly suffering a justification of behavior. In other words, you've wasted time in terms of the effort of building that relationship and all the years you spent together. Then you see that your partner, your spouse, is now exhibiting a behavior that is extremely detrimental, extremely negative, and no matter how much effort is made to put this together, nothing is working. Then the only thing left now is justification of behavior. You continue to justify the existence of a marriage for the sake of outsiders. That is dangerous. It's the same story with business ventures as well. Same story. Some people will put a lot of money, a lot of input into a venture, and then the venture goes belly up. And when it goes belly up, a lot of people have this distorted view. They say, ish, but we've put in 500,000, we've spent so much money. We can't just let this go. Let's make it work. So they begin to make it work, but everything is telling you this is an absolute loss. One of the textbook examples of this kind of situation was the Concorde. Do you know that by the time British Airways and Air France gave up the Concorde, the records are that they had sunk in over, if you adjust for inflation, $200 billion into that thing. Like they really sunk money, 31 years of trying to make this thing work. It just didn't. And in the end, they had to come to the bitter but painful truth that this thing is an absolute loss. So they just basically, they basically had to give it up. I think that was 87 or 97, I think 97, 96, somewhere there. They just basically shelved the Concorde. And when they shelved it, my friend, they had sunk billions into it. So it just wasn't viable. But there was this attachment, not, we've spent so much money. We've put so much money, Air France, British Airways, we put so much money, this thing has to work, it has to work, it has to work, it has to work. It didn't work. So that's the classic irony of what I'm telling you, okay? So, and to put it this way, you know, to add all to these three things not being bad enough, there are three situational markers for the sunk cost fallacy in your personal life that will manifest according to what I will now mention. Be aware that you don't have these and are holding on to them, and that's deceiving. Sorry. Be aware that you don't have these and are holding on to them, and that's deceiving yourself. These exemplify the classic case of self-delusion, a byproduct of this detractor. So here are some what I'm going to term delusional states of mind that come as a byproduct. I love that. And that's all in relation to this sunk cost fallacy. So number one, you feel a sense of grim determination. You sense like you would die if you keep going on, but then you do because one or more of the earlier mentioned factors are in play. So there's a grim kind of determination. I could die in this thing, but you know what? I gotta keep going. I gotta keep going. Number two, partway through a project, you realize that the project's likely outcome is no longer valuable to you. This, for me, is even bigger. You start a marriage, halfway through, it's hell than blessing. What was the statement that my wife told me the other day? I loved it. One of her friends, colleagues, made a statement to say, it was a great blessing. A marriage should be enjoyed, not endured. Yes, that's what she said. A marriage should be enjoyed, not endured. I think there's another saying also in relation to circles that we hang around. It says, be where you are celebrated, not tolerated. I love the two. Be where you're celebrated, not tolerated. A marriage should be enjoyed, not endured. So if this situation you're in, even partnerships in business, whatever it is, if you're in this thing and it's endurance, it's like, let's just make it to the next hill. Oh, let's just make it. Then for me, that begins to bring into question whether this really is God's will. And you know, people mystify God's will. My perfect example, I love this illustration. I was given this illustration years ago, and it's such a powerful illustration. I'll teach somebody. I know what I'm about to share is going to cause deliverance for a bunch of you. Listen to this. How do you know God's will for your life? It's not a mystery. God's will is not a mystery. Jesus gave us a litmus test in our hearts. He says, my peace I give you. You know you're in the will of God when you have God's peace. The peace of God that surpasses all understanding. It guards your heart, which means your emotions are guarded by this peace of God, and it guards your mind, which means your state of mind is not confused and erratic, and you're not in this state of continuous. So for me, whenever you have confusion in a decision, when you feel confused and conflicted, for me, that's already a sign you're out of God's will. Let me show you. This is my hand. This hand was designed by God. I'm not an atheist. So this hand was designed by a creator called God. And God designed it to be this way. So you see, it can fold like this. It can stretch like this. So it is the will of God that my hand stretch like this. And my hands and fingers and whatever. So meaning I can hold something like this. Now, if I put this object over here, can I hold it? That's not God's will. It means it can do so. If my hand could hold this from the back, I'm an aberration. I am a freak of nature, because it's impossible for my hand to hold backwards like that. Now, I could force my hand. You see, that's what I love about the illustration. I could force my hand to hold this. But do you know what happens? If I push these fingers back to make them hold this thing, it means essentially I'll have to break my hand and break my fingers to hold this, which means pain will come into the picture. I'll have pain trying to do this. In fact, technically, when I break these fingers to make it hold this, it won't even hold, because now they are no longer operating as designed to operate. They are out of God's will. Hello, somebody. So, which means this, my hand moving backwards like that, is not God's will. And the first sign is not the will of God, is the pain. The second sign is the damage. The second sign, rather, is the damage that is caused by my hand going backwards to try and do whatever it is it's not supposed to do. Now, I could be a contortionist. I could be a person that's kind of like naturally unusual. I can contort my body, but you see, that's not normal. That's abnormal. That's extraordinary. That's miraculous, if you like. So you see, so the will of God always has a simple sign: pain. When you break the will of God, you get into pain. And that's why I say, when the outcome is no longer valuable, if the outcome is bringing pain, if the outcome is a case of endurance where you are so not at peace anymore, if the outcome is suffering where it is not, you're not guarded by the peace of God, for me, that's not God's will. Okay? So, of course, there are very unique scenarios where we must suffer for the sake of the gospel. But I'm talking about ordinary life stuff. Okay? I'm just talking about normal, ordinary life stuff. So if life stuff is not there and you're not seeing these signs, then what the hell are you doing? So though it may have seemed valuable at first, this is the project or whatever it is, you realize that it no longer is. Many times this is caused by warped values, usually imposed by those you hold in high esteem around you, rather than what is true to yourself. So in other words, a parent, a spiritual parent, a figure of authority comes and says, God has this plan for your life. And, yes, sir. And then you get into this thing, and then as you're in it, you're like, I'm so not feeling this. Oh my God, I am so hurting. But my father said it. But my mother said it. But my uncle said it. But my prophet said it. But my pastor said it. Anybody compute? Comprende? Huh? Someone else said it. And so you're there because someone else said it. But is it you? Is that what God said to you? Okay? So that influence initially drives you only to later on realize that this investment is just not of value to you anymore in the truest sense of the word. However, your fear and respect of those that impose their values cause you to perish in a course you no longer wish to be in. And this is the painful talk. I call this the come to Jesus talk. How many of you listening to me right now have the courage to go back to the people that prophesied on your life or instructed you with the instructions of God or imposed their paternal or maternal influence on you, and yet you know in your heart you are a hypocrite? Few people have this courage, my friend. This scenario is also known as the social identity crisis. That is when your career and life purposes choice is not one that is tied to your true purpose, but instead is centered around that of a highly influential person in your life. Usually this would be parents, guardians, spiritual authorities, and any person of influence. Am I speaking to somebody right now? I know I am. I know I am. I know. It's not even a maybe. Okay? And for me, this is a big one. Because I know how many people struggle with this, and that's why I'm raising it right now. Are you really in God's will? Or is it you're under the will of your pastor or leader, or somebody of influence? The last one. You've paid for something that you're no longer interested in. You lose all interest. That's the third one. You paid for something that you're no longer interested in. You lose all interest in what you initially pursued because you know that you now know that it's not what you want. But because of one of those earlier mentioned factors, you delude yourself into continuing. As you can see or hear, the sunk cost fallacy is very deadly because it can lead to terrible consequences in future. Many have persisted in this fallacy when it comes to relationships, which include marriages, businesses, careers, and investments. And if you recognize any of these tendencies that I've just mentioned today in this video, you may need to carry out some deep introspection, which brings me to solutions real quick and we close. So here is a simple strategy for correcting the sunk cost fallacy. It boils down to these following 2 steps. Now, they are very hard, but very necessary. The 2 steps are: number 1, consider your choices. Have a come to Jesus assessment with yourself and then with the people that matter. Look at every choice and its consequences and be 100% true to the most important person in your life, that being you, not others, you. God speaks through you and will always place an inner witness within you called your conscience. And that will always speak the truth to your heart. You cannot lie forever to yourself, my friend. Sooner or later, the truth does come out. It is therefore imperative that you really weigh your choices and make some hard but critical decisions. There are a lot of people are afraid to make decisions based on choices. That's why they go and ask people, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Now, there's nothing wrong with asking for counsel. But at the end of the day, that decision stands on you, my friend. You must make that decision. And the more you put it off, the more consequences you suffer for putting off the decision. Somebody said, and I loved it some years back, they said, indecision is a decision too. Yes, so in other words, you can make a decision to do something, make a decision not to do something, or you can actually do the third one, which is be undecided. But that's a decision too. That's why you must make a decision. You can't sit around chickening out all day, figuring out, hoping. You can pray all you want, my friend. but God already has given you an inner litmus test to determine. Number two, focus on the future, okay? Instead of looking at the past, ask yourself this very hard but necessary question. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now if you elect to stay on this path? Do you like the possibility of what it could lead to? Is it a realistically achievable situation? What if you chose the path you prefer? Do you find yourself fantasizing about a reality far from what you're doing, what you're in right now as a means of escape? Do you see yourself having fantasies? It is time you look to the future possibility of what you prefer instead. What if what you desire does become a reality? Isn't that worth the painful process of cutting your losses? The future must be the focus, not the present. The Bible says that if your eye or limb causes you to sin, chop it out, for it is better to enter the kingdom of God maimed than for your whole body to go to hell. Some people are living in their hell right now because they are afraid to chop off that, to pluck out that eye, to chop off that limb. They are too afraid to do what we call in English, cutting your losses. How does it may seem the solution is that simple? I've used a great tool in the past to help me make decisions, and I will share this out. Let me share it very quickly. This is one of the most powerful decision-making tools I know. So I'm going to share this on both platforms. I'm sharing it in the chat right now. Use this tool, my friends. If you are listening to this and you're feeling me, as the young people would say, if you're feeling me and you know what I'm saying is true, and your heart is telling you, then go follow that link I've just shared right now on the chat and on Zoom, and I'm going to share this as well here on Facebook. All right, so I've just shared that as well. I don't know if I'm still on. Am I still on? Yes, I am. So these two, go there, check this out for yourself, figure out what needs to be done, and make that hard decision. A lot of people are very afraid to make these decisions. They freak out. Oh my goodness, it's telling me the program is not there anymore. I have to go look for it. It used to be there, but it's a 404. So I think they changed the program. So I'll look for the real link and share it back to you. But whatever the case, I want to take this opportunity to thank you all for following this series. And you know what we're going to be doing next now? I'm going back to my favorite subject of all time, and that is the quantum leap. So we'll be dealing with the quantum leap from next week. But if I wake up and I decide to go with the 11 keys to transforming your career, that's fine. But I think either way, I have left you guys on this platform today with a deep question. A deep question. Let me see your comments very quickly as we close, just to read your comments real quick. And then I'll call it a morning. So this is back up there. Let's see. All right. Malcolm Chavala, the big man, glad to see you here. The Sunk Cost Fallacy is so true. We hold on to the past and things that are not working. And in the end, we lose so much time and money. That's correct. So we have to have this ability to make these hard decisions. That's what leadership is. Leadership isn't just about the accolades and the praises, but leadership is also about making those tough calls. Letting go of an employee, especially when you're close to. There are cases where you bring in someone and they're your good friend or their colleague, and you notice that they're really messing up. You gotta have the courage to go face your friend and say, my friend, you've caused that losses. I'm sorry, I have to let you go. That's what leadership is. That's what, why would you want to carry on with the bad egg in your setup? Because that's your friend. Sometimes you have to make these hard calls. This explanation of being out of the will of God has made it's so clear for you. Thank you, Praise. I'm glad to hear that. Florence says, this is a good example of God's will. We need to have personal conviction. That's correct. Mwelo Mususa, go where you are celebrated, not tolerated. Dr. Mike Meda, Kanye West, of course. Yeah, Florence, you're speaking to someone. Yes, I'm speaking to someone. Then Theodora, the social identity crisis. That is so true. Not to decide is to decide. That's right. Malcolm, again, don't you sometimes have to sacrifice or compromise for the greater good? Absolutely, yes. That's why it's a tough decision. You know, you have to look at both sides of that coin and ask yourself, how does this work? He says there has to be a give and take. It can always be one way or just your way. Agreed. That's why you must use the decision maker. You must weigh the decision. And that's why great leaders also rely on solid counsel. So I'm big on counsel. The Bible says in a multitude of counselors, there's victory and there is safety. So meaning, learn to surround yourself with very wise, powerful group of counselors, people that are well versed in that area. And so you can consult them and know that their counsel will be good. I mean, the Bible, I love one passage in the Bible, the story of David. I'm finishing the story of David, which says that Ahithophel was so wise that his counsel was as that of God. Now, that's heavy. I mean, this guy was so wise that whatever he gave as counsel was as powerful as God himself speaking. That's profound. Those are the kind of people you want. Praise Mercy says the future must look so attractive to you because it causes you to cut your losses in the now. I hear you. Yes. So make sure that you have a good view of your future, and it will make a difference for you in future. On that note, thank you everybody for being part of our call this morning, and I bless you. Tomorrow it's Aunt Sylvia with her program. Take care and good day.